Good afternoon. Hello, my name is Javon Rich, and I'm the Policy and Advocacy Director at the ACLU of Delaware. Thank you so much to press, media, journalists, guests for joining us today to learn more about ACLU of Delaware's electoral campaign and the work that we've been doing since this summer and continue to embark on. Abortion access, smart justice, and renters' rights are all hot issues on the ballot in Delaware's 2022 primary elections, and candidates are making it known where they stand. Today, we will hear from panelists on what voters believe on those issues and work that has been done to engage and educate voters on the issues and to make sure that voters know where their candidates or state house stand too. I invite folks to ask questions in the Q&A section. If you're on Zoom during the presentation, viewers on Facebook can also share their thoughts, questions, and comments in the comments section on Facebook. To begin, I'm going to turn it over to Mira Devota, ACLU of Delaware's Voter Campaign Manager, whoop, whoop, and Jim Williams with Public Policy Polling to talk about the importance of voting, your values, and reviewing the results of a recent poll of New Castle County voters. Mira, take it away.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Javon, and thank you to everyone joining us today to discuss our electoral work and to help us mobilize Delaware voters ahead of the primary election this coming Tuesday, September 13th. As Javon just mentioned, my name is Mira Devota. I'm the ACLU Voter Campaign Manager, and I've been leading a lot of our voter education and engagement work this election season. So our campaign really focuses on asking Delaware voters to vote their values and to fight for their rights this election season. Our campaign does not endorse or oppose any political candidates, but rather through voter education and engagement work, we hope to equip Delaware voters with the resources and the information they need to cast their ballots confidently this election season. We also really want to acknowledge that voter education does and should look different, as different voters across the state have different experiences voting, and different voters in different districts have different priorities. So that's kind of why we've tailored our messaging in key districts RD1, RD2, and RD13, all of which have been considered key races to watch this election season. In RD1, our messaging focuses on renters' rights. In RD2, reproductive freedom, and in RD13, police accountability and transparency, or what we call at the ACLU, smart justice. We have a whole span of different education and engagement materials. First, our mailers, which we'll show you right now. We'll share the screen so that you can see the mailers that we have, that we have distributed to voters in 1, 2, and 13. As I just said, RD1's mailers focuses on renters' rights. Now, we have shown candidate stances throughout these mailers based on our candidate survey that you can find at votedelaware.org. So in RD1, you can see that we have candidates Shanae Darby and Nandi Chipwocha. We just scroll down. There we go, awesome. You can see that we have their responses very clearly outlined so that this information is accessible to voters in this district. In RD2, as I mentioned, we focused on reproductive freedom. Again, we used candidate responses to our survey. Now, we've done outreach since July to have these candidates respond, create profiles on our websites, and give us answers and elaborations on where they stand. You'll see that in RD2, the incumbent candidate, Stephanie Bolden, is marked down as did not respond. And that is because we did not get an answer to our candidate survey here. And lastly, in RD13, as I mentioned, focusing on police accountability and transparency or smart justice. Again, you can see that incumbent Representative Mitchell did not respond to our surveys and is marked so clearly here. In addition to these mailers, which were distributed widely across these districts, we also ran an advertising campaign focusing on digital ads, co-branded emails and articles in media outlets like Delaware Today and Delaware Online. And in addition to that, we have a very comprehensive text and phone call campaign focused on this messaging in these 3 districts. Now, aside from our education work, we are really trying to engage communities too. So We are on the ground talking to voters at different community events like the Taste of Africa Festival coming up this Saturday, the Hispanic Festival in both Wilmington and Georgetown, the Multicultural Wellness Festival, and events like National Voter Registration Day, in which we're focusing our messaging on uplifting same-day registration in Delaware. We will also be hosting community pop-up events like the one we're having tomorrow in Wilmington to engage RD1 and RD2 voters, and smart justice canvassing events like the one that we are having this coming Saturday in RD13. Now, that was a lot of information, so I will stop there and turn it over to Jim to speak more about our polling results. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mira, and thanks everybody for being on the call with us today. I'm going to talk about some of the findings from the poll that we did in Newcastle County about a month ago. Again, I'm Jim Williams with Public Policy Polling. I want to give a little bit of background on the poll first. The poll was conducted in Newcastle County among Democratic voters. The poll was conducted on August 10th and August 11th, and there were 563 respondents, likely Democratic voters. Margin of error on the poll for that sample size is plus or minus 4.1%, which is pretty industry standard as far as margins of error go. And now I want to talk about some of the key findings on the poll, particularly with respect to those policy issues that Mira was talking about. Medicaid funding for abortion. We found that 74% of voters supported the General Assembly passing a law to allow state Medicaid dollars to fund abortion care. And furthermore, 63% of voters said that they would be more likely to vote for a candidate who supports this policy, not less likely. Probation reform. Another 74% of voters said that they supported the General Assembly passing a law to ensure that people on probation are not reincarcerated for minor technical violations. Similarly, with police reform, 64% of voters said that they're more likely to vote for a candidate who supported making police disciplinary records public. Voting rights. 73% of voters said that they believe a person on probation should have their right to vote restored. And finally, housing justice. 69% of respondents to the poll in Newcastle County said that they believe the General Assembly should pass legislation to guarantee a right to representation for renters facing eviction. And 50% of voters said that they would be more likely to vote for a candidate who supported this policy. So across the board with these policies, we find in all cases that there's overwhelming support, strong majorities for all of these things. And also voters say that they're more likely to vote for candidates who support these policies as well. Those are some of the key findings from the poll. And I will send things back to Javon.
Thank you so much, Jim and Mira. And like Jim said, the issues that we're discussing are overwhelmingly supported by voters. Our next panelists are going to talk specifically about those issues that are overwhelmingly supported by voters, specifically about abortion access, right to representation in eviction proceedings, and smart justice reform when it comes to the policing institution and probation system. Our next set of speakers are Ruth Lytle-Barnaby, President of Planned Parenthood, Pam Hill, landlord and owner of My Smart Cousin, and Timeless Thomas, ACLU of Delaware Smart Justice Ambassador and author of 101 Things You Should Know About Jail. Ruth?
Thank you. Thank you. And I apologize up front if you hear some loud noises. We're having some renovation going on downstairs, so there might be a jackhammer or something else going on. So just ignore. Medicaid, abortion. Who knew this year we'd be able to talk about both of those things together? It was really only a few short years ago. We were just trying to get some of the old abortion bills decriminalized. And now here we are today with an overwhelming majority of citizens supporting Medicaid for abortion. Right now, about 300,000 Delawareans, or 30% of the state, utilizes Medicaid for their health insurance. Restricting healthcare access solely to those who can pay for it is really not good policy at all. Everyone deserves body autonomy, and a decision as personal as this should come from the patient after consultation with their medical experts. This should never be because of the financial resources someone has or does not have. Unfortunately, the inequities in our country, especially impacting people of color, are large. Nationally, 30% of Black women and 24% of Latino Hispanic women aged 15 to 44 are enrolled in Medicaid, compared to 14% of white women. The Human Rights Council noted that a lack of access to abortion services traps many women into cycles of poverty. Again, the impact is magnified if you belong to a marginalized racial or ethnic group. Right now, 16 states cover abortion through Medicaid. 7 do so voluntarily, and 9 do so due to a court order. And this is from Guttmacher Institute. The Federal Hyde Amendment, which was passed in 1977, banned state use of federal Medicaid dollars to pay for an abortion, unless the pregnancy is a result of rape or incest, or the abortion is necessary to save the life of a woman. In Delaware, what does this mean? It means that women typically have to go through filing a police report, having special circumstances to come in for their abortion so that the products of conception can be collected and DNA testing done. It becomes a really stressful event for women, rather traumatizing, and they have to again detail their sexual assault for more people than they had to before. So we definitely feel like the Hyde Amendment has hurt women drastically, created more trauma, hasn't undone it. In 2011, the unintended pregnancy rate among women with income below the federal poverty level, which was around 18,530 for a family of 3, was more than 5 times that of women with an income or above 200% of poverty. What does this mean? It means the high rate of unintended pregnancy disproportionately affects women who are struggling financially, and then they experience higher levels of abortion. What does this do to? There's a lot around access to birth control, timeliness of getting it, and when you pair that all up with an inability to afford it, you really have a desperate situation for many. In states where Medicaid covers abortion services, 89% of the abortion patients with Medicaid use their insurance to cover abortion care. So what would I like for you to do? I'd like for you to understand that forced pregnancy has life-altering consequences. It's an issue that impacts every single one of us. You're either a person who can become pregnant, or you're someone who loves or knows someone who can become pregnant. In Delaware, if we're going to be a true safe haven for abortion care, we must fortify the protections we already have in place and build on them wherever we can. Together, we can ensure that regardless of what happens on the national level, Delaware will be a true safe haven for abortion access by electing legislators who have clear commitment to protecting and expanding reproductive health care. If you look at just the increase in the latest poll in Newcastle County, in 2019, the Heart Research Associates said that 62% of voters nationally supported Medicaid covering abortion, and now we're already up over 70%. So since Roe's been overturned, the increase continues for people to support abortion services. Medicaid covers so much of healthcare, why not abortion? Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. Next, we have Pam Hill.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Pam Hill with my smart cousin. And so what I do is I am a real estate investor right here in Delaware, as well as a landlord, as was mentioned earlier. And now I think I can also add to that a housing policy advocate. And so I'm really a big supporter of this notion of renters being able to have some sort of counsel. And the reason why is because I guess I think it's just really the right thing to do, especially when you think about on the affordable housing front, who those renters typically are. So affordable housing, of course, is something that I'd say every single person would like, but here it's usually meant as a synonym, as it were, for low-income housing. And so the folks who live in low-income housing by nature are low-income often. So as a result, when I go to court, when I find myself not having been able to resolve the issue, and I'd have to say at this point, every time the issue is something around the rent not having been paid. So when I have to go to court for that, I'm already somewhat familiar. I'm not kind of afraid to walk into the courtroom. I sort of know what to expect. I've taken a look again at the Delaware Landlord Tenant Code. And while I'm not a lawyer, not by any stretch, I have some sense of what might occur. I'd also say that I don't have to have the same kind of restrictions around ability to go into court. I can schedule to be off that day, for instance. And that's in contrast to a lot of folks who are renters in affordable housing, where they don't tend to have the flexibility to schedule to be off. And even if they can schedule to be off, that's probably a day without pay, which is a big drawback for them. And then also they don't tend to know the rules at all. And I have found my experience so far in court has been that judges are very even-handed. And I would say they even, they seek extra hard to listen to the tenant, the renter's point of view. So I don't see a drawback of having folks who are in this sort of housing, affordable housing, having the opportunity to seek counsel. Who knows? In my view, it might mean that I go to court less often, which would be nice, because then they would have had a chance to hear not from me, but from someone who's a third party that they trust, who tells them, look, this is a pretty black and white case. Why don't you just go ahead and try to work it out rather than having to go to court? So that's the reason I support it, because it's the right thing to do. And it leads to, I think, a more stable outcome for all parties concerned. So I see vote your values as a backsplash for the ACLU folks. And I think that's exactly right. I'm urging everyone to really vote their values on this issue. Thanks much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Pam. Timeless?
Good afternoon, Javon, and thank you, everybody, for having me and hanging in there with me. I'm talking about police reform and probation reform. Whoever's taking notes, take note that votedelaware.org. Put that down on your notes. I'll come back to that at the end. So here's the thing. I'm a smart justice ambassador for the ACLU. Keyword here, smart. The probation system is currently not serving the people effectively. We went from so we're changing terminologies. It went from ex-con to ex-offender. Now it's returning citizen, but it doesn't feel like it's a collaboration between the criminal justice side of it, between the probation department and the actual returning citizen. I don't believe that he or her is getting treated justly and is having any assistance in the transition. Because coming from prison, which is a different world, you have to make a transition into the community, and it does require a lot of assistance. And the first entity that you come in contact with is the probation and parole organization. So here's the thing. You can tell that there's a disconnect, because when you go see your probation officer, for all those who just don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm sure you've heard about it, because Delaware is very small and it's a state of neighbors. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, you know somebody, your coworker, your friend, you can make one phone call and find out who's on probation in your world. But it's a state of neighbors. So here's the thing. When you go to your probation visit, your probation officers dress casually and they sit at a desk and you talk about the issues, whatever. But when your probation officer comes to your home, right, to the returning citizen's home, right, they're dressed like a stormtrooper. The bulletproof vest, they got the gun. They even 9 out of 10 times have the police escort them or ride along with them. Which, when you have a vest on and a gun, it looks pretty much like you're dressed for war. Now, if you're supposed to be working with me, if you're supposed to be helping me reacclimate, if you're supposed to be having the best interests of the community, that this ex-offender or this returning citizen become a productive part of the community, obtain gainful employment, reconnect with his family, friends, and loved ones, and be the best that he or she can be, why are you coming to my home dressed like you're going to a war? So that's a disconnect, and it's two different personalities. Now, here's why we have to. This is a must. Here's why we have to upgrade the probation system. Here's why we have to, like I said, we have to vote. We have to vote for the correct candidates that understand and think like this, because we can't use the old rules. We can't use the Flintstone probationary rules in the Jetson times. We can't use those rules on the new millennium. That would be almost like trying to use old drug rehabilitation rules in today's world. They didn't have fentanyl back in the day. So these are new things. So this is where, again, the word smart justice comes in. So everything's smart. So we got smartphones, smart cars, smart TVs. It's time to use smart justice. We got to be smart. Now, can we do it? Absolutely, we can do it. We have to collectively get together, right? And we have to say, you know what? Let me take a look at what Thomas has said. He's right. They even, when the founding fathers of the country created the country and they made the Constitution, as things evolved, they even said, wait, you know what? We got to do some amendments here. And then the amendments came in. We have to amend what's going on with the probation system. It's not working. All right, now here's another thing. So if we don't help these people, not only does it fall back on the taxpayers if somebody gets violated and goes back to jail for the smallest thing, and not only does it, mess up the whole family thing and all that, those are things, but it can also create a bitter person. And once again, I'm going back to this state of neighbors, maybe creating, making a violent offender do more violence again and again. It's going to happen to you or somebody because it's just that smart. It didn't happen to you. You can make the phone call today. You can talk to one of your coworkers at lunch. You can say, hey, do you know anybody who's been killed or who's been a victim of violence in Delaware? And they're going to say, I absolutely do. So it's just that real. We got to help people get cleaned up and be sincere about it. Now, police reform. I'm going to do this quick. This is a no-brainer. Okay, the police's job is to protect and serve. Protect who? The taxpayers, the community, the citizens. Serve who? The taxpayers, the community, the citizens. So that's not what's happening. That's not what's happening. So I can't give you the statistical number, but I can say that the disconnect is so bad that they don't even want to honor police transparency. They don't even want us to be allowed to probe into what they're doing, whether it be right or wrong, because of the disconnect, because they know they're not protecting and serving. What they're doing is arresting and killing. And those are not solutions. Those are not solutions. So we definitely got to give them some more training. We got to defund them. This is my personal opinion. This is a Thomas disclaimer. We got to defund them and get the funds going in the correct areas. We got to fund more mental health workers and therapists and school teachers and other people. So in closing, we have the ACLU and other organizations of the like that are full of young, vibrant people that are saying, look, I'm willing to pitch in and give 110% to revolutionizing the system. We can't expect new results doing the old things. It's almost similar to insanity. You can't do the same things and expect different results. That's the actual premise for insanity. So we can't say year after year, we want change, but we don't vote for any change. We don't make any change. Can't just keep saying it's not going to happen. So we have to do something. So by the 13th, before if you can, but by the 13th of this month of September, what I'm going to ask everybody to do, go to votedelaware.org, get some information, call a friend, ask a friend, share this whole panel, but get the right candidate in there. Get the person in there who's not scared to go up against these issues and say, look, we do have to revolutionize things. We got to catch up. And on that note, I would like to thank everybody for listening to my bulk of knowledge, my bulk of lived experience, because I don't have to read it off of paper. This is my life. I live it. So, and so do you. You guys all have lived experiences too. Like I said, everybody's a phone call away from finding out about something I just said and how it personally affected your life as well. And thank you very much. And everyone have a nice day. And I'm just going to continue to listen in.
Thank you so much, Timeless, and thank you again for all of our panelists. Now we will go to any questions. If you can put questions in the Zoom Q&A still at this time. Also feel free to raise your hand. We will take questions that way. And if you're joining via Facebook Live, any questions in the comment section can be answered. So I'll just give folks a moment. All right, so.
Javon, it looks like we have a question from Meredith Newman of Delaware Online. Meredith, I've given you speaking privileges.
Hi there. I have a few questions. First, just about the poll in general, I just wanted to clarify, of the 500 or so voters that were surveyed, are those just voters in districts 1, 2, and 13, or are they voters throughout Newcastle County?
It's a countywide poll. So it's my understanding that the county is heavily comprised of those 3 districts, however.
Okay, got it. And I guess my second question was, I'm curious about the questions that were asked, or I guess the topics that were covered. I'm curious, I know there was a question related to President Biden's approval rating. I was curious why there weren't any questions about Governor Carney's approval or job performance.
I think the main focus of the poll was the policy issues that we've been talking about today.
Okay. And then I guess my question is more for someone at the ACLU. I know you said that you don't endorse candidates, but I am curious about the campaigns that you decided to launch in those 3 districts, since for District 1, Representative Okocha was against renters' rights legislation. Stephanie T. Bolden did not vote for the abortion-related legislation. And for Representative Mitchell, he is a former police officer. So those seem like pretty targeted campaigns, knowing the backgrounds of the candidates, but I'm curious about the discrepancy of not officially endorsing those candidates.
So again, the ACLU of Delaware does not endorse candidates, but what we will do is educate voters about the specific issues. So in those districts, we were focusing on specific issues that, we've just shared that have overwhelming support from voters in Delaware.
But I guess my question is, you chose those issues for those areas based off of what the incumbents' positions were? I guess I'm trying to figure out how you chose those issues to begin with.
Well, I think it's pretty clear that the issues that have been chosen are issues that are also, really important to the ACLU of Delaware platform. We do promote abortion access. We are promoting police transparency and accountability, and as well as right to representation.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Meredith, I think I can add to that a little bit as far as the methodology goes. The issues that we highlighted specifically in those districts were issues where there has been clear action from the incumbents or non-action in some cases, or they answered or did not answer our candidate survey. So there's definitive things that you can point back to on those issues, and that's why we specifically focused on those for those districts.
Got it, thanks.
Any other questions? Thank you, Meredith, for those questions, by the way. Any other questions? All right, so it's looking like we have no other questions. So again, thank you so much for our panelists, media, press, and guests who are also viewing on Facebook. Be sure to check out votedelaware.org. Like Thomas said, and many folks on this call said, there are multiple ways that you can vote before and on September 13th, and you can find out about voting by mail, early voting, voting on the day of on votedelaware.org. And that concludes our event.